I believe that works. Okay, here we go. So last we left off, we were discussing the Ramah's comments at the end of Sif Aleph, which really opened the door to a lot of different arrangements because he basically he quotes the Ran, who qualifies that the Gemara's case of that you have to make a stipulation beforehand in order for this partnership between the Jew and the non-Jew to get off the ground. That's all when you split the days of work, meaning you don't necessarily work every day, but you do Monday, I do Tuesday, you do Wednesday. It's when you split the days that all these things come into play. But the Ramah then had said that, and even that, then if fine, so yes, that's that. And then he says, that's right. Let's read it all together. That's all when you're talking about, this one, each one works their own days. And so then when you start to make a trade for you work Shabbos, so then I'll work Sundays in correspondence to that because I can't work on Saturdays, but, so then that's when maybe there's a problem. Let's say that they're co-owners and they also, they don't split by days. They both come into work every day. They both oversee the running of this business. כששניהם עוסקים ביחד כל ימי החול, ושבס עוסק היינו יהודי לבדו, and on Shabbos the Judas doesn't show up. So actually he does. 1 second. Sorry. And he tells his friend, his non-Jewish co-worker or co-owner, so look, I can't work on Shabbos. It's not my day. I can't do it. It's not my religion doesn't allow me to. But the non-Jew doesn't care. He said, okay, whatever, I'll go. And he runs the business on Shabbos. So then it's mutter, it's permissible. Then it's okay to split the profits because that is considered a daite denafshe kaved. The non-Jew is deciding to work on his own. That's his own choice. It wasn't you do Saturday and I'll do Sunday, and now I'm kind of making him my shaliach on Saturdays. The Jew is not benefiting from the malacha that's being done on Shabbos, since the malacha is not mutelas alav. It doesn't really, it doesn't fall upon him, la'asos, because he's happy if the business stays closed on Saturday. When I tell you, you work Saturday, I work Sunday, so I'm telling you, the non-Jewish partner, I want you to keep the business open on Saturdays, and I want you to do the work. Here, I couldn't care less if it stays closed on Saturdays, and so therefore, if the work does get done, that's on the non-Jew. But when it comes time to split the profits, I just need to make sure that when we do so, I'm not just getting things at the end of every day, and so he comes over to my house right after Shabbos and says, "Here's your share of the profits from today," because then it looks like I profited directly from business that was done on Shabbos. So it's supposed to be done behavla in a larger subset of days or weeks. How you break up the payment.
But isn't the whole thing a technicality? Because in effect, it's the same thing. Okay, so I don't come in on Shabbos. He comes in on Shabbos. He'll want to take a day off. So, okay, so you take off Sunday or Monday or Tuesday, whatever. It's not like he's going to work 7 days a week. Whether they agreed on it formally or not, it's basically comes down to the same bottom line.
Yeah, so I hear you. You're basically claiming what is the difference? There is no difference. It's a technicality. It is a technicality in some ways. It's sort of how you arrange the business, and that kind of matters in this case, because this way the non-Jewish co-owner is not your shaliach to do the work on Saturdays. And as I mentioned, so I hear your point, right? But once you start, particularly if the Jew is the one who gets up and says, you do Saturday and I'll do a different day in correspondence to it, that's different. Yeah, of course, the non-Jew is probably going to take a break sometimes, and the Jew will work those days by himself. But the point is that neither one is bothered by the fact that the other one didn't show up, right? That's what's the key here, right? That particularly more important for our purposes is that the Jew is happy to just not work, and he doesn't. He does. As I said, I don't think he would care in this case. Does it stay open? Does it not stay open? Because I don't view this day as relevant to me as the Jewish honor. Let's read the Mishnah Berurah, though. Hopefully this will help as well. Let's take a look. We're up to I believe we're up to Tet. Let's make sure that I got that correct. Yeah, we're up to Tet. Biyomo. This is that each one in that the claim that the cases of the where you need stipulation, the Tanai, that's when everybody's working Biyomo on their given day. The Az Kaven the HaYisrael Osa Kol Yom Echad. Since the Jew is always doing Sunday or one day in correspondence to Saturday, Havele Ha'eno Yehudi Kishlucho Lasos Kol Yom HaShabbos. It is like the non-Jew is now the Jewish co-owner's messenger, is shaliach every Saturday bishvilo on his behalf. Ulekach, all right, ba'inan sheyasne meikar. That's why you need to have a stipulation from the beginning so that you remove yourself from the business on Saturdays, so that you have nothing to do with it right from the get-go. That you're if you remove your name from the business, as it were, not literally, but you remove, your shaychus to Saturdays, then you can have a corresponding day, because you can claim that there was never your name was never associated with Saturdays, and so therefore you can't have a shaliach to something that you have no shaychus to. Okay, im ha'eno Yehudi nasan ma'os liYisrael hisasek bahem bechol u'v'shabbos misasek hu also Yisrael lekalam menuschar min harevach shenolad b'Shabbos ela im ken yasne haYisrael imo meikara shelo yeh mutal alav yom haShabbos klal. So he says here that there are some achronim who write that the same halacha applies if a non-Jew gives money to the Jew to do, hey, you do all the Tuesdays. So the non-Jew approaches in this situation. Most of the time we've been talking about the Jew approaches the non-Jew and says, you do Saturdays and I do some other day. What if the non-Jew approaches and says, you do Sundays and I'll do, and on Shabbos, I will do the work. So that's also a problem. It's prohibited for the non-Jew, for the Jew to accept any schar in that situation that would have emerged from the Shabbos, from Shabbos day, unless again there was a Tanai, unless there was a condition that was stipulated from the very beginning that the Jew has nothing to do with Saturdays as it relates to this business. The im lav hachi came in the hamalacha azos mutelas al Yisrael. Since the malacha falls upon the Jew equally to get done, the ha'eno Yehudi osa shlichuso. And now when I tell you do Saturdays, I'm telling you to be my shaliach. So you take care of my half of the business, my half of the work that had to get done on Saturdays there. That's why it is usher. And by the way, on Tuesdays when the Jew is working, the Jew is the shaliach of the non-Jew. It just that doesn't matter for halachic purposes. The only thing that matters for halachic purposes is Saturdays. And in that situation, on Saturdays, the non-Jew is a shaliach of the Jew. And that's the problem here. It looks like he's a shaliach. Okay. Fine. Okay, let's go to Yud. So Yud is talking about Adaita and Ashe. In the case where they both work every day, they work together, and then on Saturdays the Jew doesn't show up. that's okay because Adaita the Nafshekavit, the non-Jew is working on for his own reasons, right? Bishvil Chelko, he's working for his portion of the profits. The Havele Ka'aris, it's like the situation of the sharecropper, the Mutter Medina, which is permitted by the letter of the law. Right, that's like when somebody works the field and they keep a percentage of it. So they keep, let's say, 50%. So the reason they're working hard is because they want that. They want 50% of what they're producing, what they're harvesting. That's like what we talked about a few simanim ago. To Kevin who lokech payros, since he's taking of the actual fruit, the produce that he's working for, Kevin who lokech beperos avid adaite denavshe. He is working for his, for himself, meaning he's working on it for his own reasons. He's not doing this so that he can get a separate payment. He's working right now for this so he can take half of what he's doing home. And the portion that's owned by the Jew. So, congratulations, he won. He gets to keep the profits, but it just sort of happened memela because he was doing what he wanted to do to take home some of his stuff, and so it ended up there was a pile of produce that also was benefiting the Jew at the end of Shabbos. V'hu kan ela desham aser betanur. The same halacha applies here, but when it came to tanur, when it came to the oven that was owned by the Jew, we said it was prohibited, even though it was, let's say, an aris situation. You hired somebody to come in and you'll share some of the profits in a tanur. The reason it was a problem was not letter of the law, but was because of maris ayin. People will make assumptions about what kind of worker this is. Shiyomru schirohu, this guy who's working here, this non-Jew, is his worker, not a co-owner, not a sharecropper. V'kan lekam, and that's why we didn't allow it in that situation. But v'kan leka maris ayin. When it's a co-owned business, we throw the whole maris ayin issue out the window. It's out the window. The hakol yodin sheyesh le'eno Yehudi chelik bo. The whole point of why a sharecropper was not allowed in the tanur situation was because of maris ayin. They don't know who this guy is. Who is this guy? We never heard of him. This we always know this is Cohen's business. When did this guy get involved? He must be a worker. But when it comes to a co-owned business, so presumably the neighborhood knows it's a co-owned business.
Don't you think it's a little weak? I mean, they could put a little sign up on the oven that says, Cohen and Smith ovens or something.
So I'm saying that would be permissible. Oh, you're saying in the Aris case?
Yeah, well, in the Tanur case, right? So they just said that it doesn't work because of Marid Ayin.
It doesn't work in the situation where it's only owned by the Jew, but when it is co-owned, then it's fine. Then it's fine because presumably the sign on the front door says, Cohen, and we'll go with Smith here being a non-Jewish name here. Cohen and Smith, oven services, whatever it is. So then it's fine because Hakol Yodin sheyesh le'eno Yehudi chelik bo. Everyone understands that the non-Jew co-owns the business, and therefore they'll see when Cohen's not in Cohen's in shul, he's not at the business. Everyone will pass by and see, oh, Smith is working today. Okay, fine, Smith is working. Smith is entitled to work the business. What if Smith has to close down because Cohen's in shul? So that's okay. There is no maris ayin concern here. And again, as I said, this opens the door to a lot of business arrangements, practically speaking, for a Jew to be involved in if it is, if their business is co-owned with a non-Jew. If it's solely owned by a Jew, it's much more problematic to have your business open on Shabbos. In fact, I would venture to say that there are very few scenarios where it's actually going to be okay. But if it's co-owned, you have here the opportunity you have an opportunity to open the business. Okay. There's an interesting case in the Dirshu Mishnah Brura. I think it's very cute. I don't know how often this happens, but He talks here about a case of let's say you have a co-owned business between a Chutz La'aretz Jew and an Eretz Yisrael Jew, and the business is in America. So now comes the question about Yom Tov Sheni. So obviously, the Jew who lives in America can't work the business on Yom Tov Sheni. But let's say the Eretz Yisrael Jew decides he wants to come to America. So I guess he spent the first day of Yom Tov in America, and now can he open the business on the second day, even though he's Jewish? And in America, it's a holiday today, but there are plenty of non-Jewish customers. So, so apparently there's a tshuva about this. There's a tshuva about this, which I never would have thought. Apparently, the Birkei Yosef writes, "Shemuter lebein Eretz Yisrael limkor b'yom tov sheni b'chonus hamishutefes. Af al pisha lebein chutz la'aretz asur limkor b'yom tov sheni." The paskins that it's mutter for the Ben Eretz Yisrael to open the business on the second day of Yom Tov. Lachlo kaschar b'shova, and he can split the profits even with him. Since they're partners in the business and they're always osek, they're always engaged in the business all the time. Okay, so Yom Tov came on Yom Tov Rishon. Obviously, neither of them did anything, and Yom Tov Sheni. So the one who can work by halacha says okay. So he shows up and he does the job. Ukafit pasak harama, and according to what the Ramah has just said about a Jew and a non-Jew, it should be okay. And he says, even though that the Mechaber didn't talk about this halacha, nevertheless, it's a good proof. I'm surprised that he even thinks that the Mechaber would have talked about this, because the idea of a Ben Eretz Yisrael coming to spend Yom Tov in Chutz La'aretz back in the day was not a common occurrence that you would probably need to address this question. Tommy, go ahead.
Do you? Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Isn't this just reversed that he's opening Eretz Yisrael, but not Chutz La'aretz, because the one from Eretz Yisrael comes to Chutz La'aretz. He's not supposed to be doing any work because of Maritime and other rules. So it has to be the reverse case.
You're saying that the business is in Israel.
If the business is in Israel, because if it's in Chutz La'aretz, the Israeli.
Oh, sorry, you're right. That's why he writes here. Sorry, I missed that. Yeah, he said v'chein bein Chutz La'aretz hashohe be'Eretz Yisrael. Right, the Chutz La'aretz, the person from Chutz La'aretz is in Eretz Yisrael. V'daito lachzor leChutz La'aretz. He's just visiting, so he's just staying there. Right. Okay, fine. Sorry, you're absolutely correct. In here it will be a problem. I guess here it will be more of a problem because maybe people won't even know that the co-owner is an Eretz Yisrael, and he's supposed to be. You're supposed to avoid. The halacha is, you're absolutely right, Tommy. The halacha is that a Ben Eretz Yisrael who spends Yom Tov Sheni here is supposed to not do things b'farhesia that are usher. You can do whatever you want in your personal home or apartment that you're staying in, but you're not supposed to go in front of everybody else and start flaunting all the malacha, the Isra malacha. Excellent, good. Thank you for pointing that out. Yeah, that's what he says that here in the first line. Yes.
Do you have a problem in this kind of arrangement where one partner is in Israel, one partner is here? Every single Friday, if the American keeps the business open till 6 o'clock, it's been Shabbos in Israel for a while, for hours.
That's also that's a good question, right? If one opens the business at a time when the other one, right? That's a good question.
So that's never been dealt with?
I don't think that's been talked about. Though I think it's reality at this point. I'm sure there are such businesses.
Well, online business.
It's a whole question. Online businesses, can you have your website working on Shabbos? People are making orders on Shabbos. It's a real question.
Where is Shabbos?
What was that?
Where is Shabbos? It has to be the home location as the guide, because if it's not the home location, then there's a 20. You can be closed for 2 days practically.
You're saying if it's called by a Jew and a non-Jew, then it has to be.
If the home location is in New York,
by a Jew, right?
Shabbos is starts in London 5 hours earlier, that means you can't sell in New York
Right.
already.
So people who are in London are you should have to shut it down to
And
them, but you
vice
can't do
versa.
that
I
with a
mean,
website.
it become a real issue. I think B&H follows the local.
Whatever time is Shabbos for them.
Yeah, when Shabbos for here. Yeah.
Their website shuts down on Shabbos.
Right, but
Yeah.
not. Oh, but when Shabbos is out, the website is on.
Right. Yeah. And they could possibly be getting orders at times from places where it's still Shabbos, like if in Los Angeles somebody orders a camera for B&H right after Shabbos in New York, it's still Shabbos in Los Angeles. Yeah, it's a good question. I'd have to look into this more as to you know why is it like I trust that they probably asked somebody reliable. Why is it that that they can sell to a Los Angeles resident in the hour that follows Shabbos. Now, obviously, from a practical perspective, you point out very well that it would be disastrous for their business if they had to start. They get orders from all sorts of places, at least according to their commercials. It would be very bad for their business if they couldn't do that. Okay, fine. Let's keep going here. Ve'ein ha'Yisrael nana, right? When the non-Jew does the work on Saturday, the Jew doesn't benefit from the work that was done. It's like it just happens. The benefit that the Jew gets happens. It wasn't that the work was done on behalf of the of the Jew's benefit. Right, when you have a worker who's hired and let's go to the example of the field, right? The Jew owns the field. It's not a sharecropper situation. Just you work in my field. I pay you X to work the day, salary, but all the hana from the fruits and the produce, that's all to me, right? That's my hana. Here, the hana from the work is all for the Jew, and the hana that I did get as the Jewish owner, because I got some of the portions of some portion of the produce, that is hana de memela. That is hana that sort of happened on its own, right? I can't stop things that happen sort of that on their own. I have no obligation to. Aval ein ha'eno Yehudi oseh melachto bishvilo, right? The non-Jew is not doing the work on behalf of the Jew, lahanoso, to cause the Jew to benefit. To have like a shluch, to have kishlucho bazeh. Right? Then it will be like he's my shaliach. Kevin, why is it not a problem? Kevin, the ein mutal klal al Yisrael lazet lasos b'Shabbos. I don't care. I don't care for the work to get done on Saturdays. I'm happy if the business stays closed on Saturdays for all I care. The rest of the week we're both working. We're both heating up the oven. We're both working very hard. The non-Jew can't force the Jew to work on Shabbos. The non-Jew is not my shaliach. And if you could force me, and then I say, okay, fine, you do it on my behalf, that's different. But nobody's saying that each one has to show up, right? Therefore, since nobody can force the other one to do your part of the business, nobody does that. Therefore, when the non-Jew does the work on Saturdays, he's doing it for his own benefit. The Jew presumably does not care whether or not the business is open on Shabbos. That's the first prerequisite for any co-owned business that's going to stay open on Shabbos, is that the Jew must not care and must be completely uninvolved with what's going on in the business on Saturdays. Yud Beis behavla, when you do take that schar that happened on Shabbos, it has to be part of a larger subset. It can't just be Shabbos day. At the end of the day, he comes and drops off the cash. That was his portion. The ilav hachi, because if that happened, mechse kischar Shabbos. It looks like profits from it looks like schar Shabbos. Schar Shabbos, as I've mentioned a number of times, is when you get profits from something that happened directly on Shabbos. And here, even though I didn't do anything wrong and nobody did anything wrong, it appears like schar Shabbos. This Isser D'Rabbanan of schar Shabbos, and therefore, rather when you split the profits, do it once a week on once a week basis, a once a month basis, whatever it is, just not by day. That becomes a problem for Shabbos. Let's go to Beis in the Shulchan Aruch. Back up here. Heicha shehisnu betchila. Now remember, we have to be thinking about the Shulchan Aruch's case. The Shulchan Aruch doesn't know what the Rava wrote. Okay? He's working with the psak that you have to make a tanai, you have to make a stipulation in order to make the business permissible on Shabbos. Heicha shehisnu betchila. So let's say you made the stipulation at the beginning, I have nothing to do with Shabbos when you come into the business with the non-Jewish partner. And then after the fact, when it comes time to split the profits, Nisratza ha'eno Yehudi, lachlok b'shaveh, the non-Jew says, come, let's just, I don't want to start, hemming and hawing and handling, whatever. Let's just split it 50-50. Even though that wasn't the arrangement from the beginning. That was not the arrangement. So then it is permissible. That is okay. Why is this okay? It seems like it's a little bit of a trick here. Why should this be okay? So Ritzono Lomar, the Mishnah Berurah here writes in Yud Gimel, Sha'ala lafi ma shehisnu hein rab hein oma'at al chelek haShabbos yoser miyom echad Hachol Shel Yisrael. So the stipulation was whether or not there's a lot of business or very little business that happens on Shabbos, compared to the other day that I would work in correspondence. Right? That's the way we made that arrangement. V'shas chaluka nisratze lachlok v'shaveh. They basically say, yeah, whatever, let's just do this, split it, let's split it down the middle. We don't we don't say, looking backwards, that you see, now it's clear as daylight that it turns out the non-Jew was a shaliach of the Jew on Shabbos to do all the malacha. Ella, we don't say that. Ella matana ba'alma hu the yahiv le ha'eno Yehudi. The Eno Yehudi, and let's presume here that this works out nicely for the Jew. That's a bigger problem. If the Jew made more on his day and he decides let's split it 50-50 now, so he's just giving away his profits. Okay, that's his choice. He could do that. But let's say the non-Jew made more on Shabbos than the Jew made on Sunday, and that's a consistent pattern. Let's say. And now they come to the end of the week, and it's clear that if you split it 50-50, that is not at all the true arrangement. So, how do we view that split? So we view it as a matana ba'alma. It's a gift. You understand that was the arrangement, and it meant it. Nobody was winking and nodding here at the beginning, right? It was a true arrangement, and then at the end, when they come to split it up, if they want to split it 50-50, then it's a matana ba'alma. It's just a gift that he's giving to the yahiv le. The non-Jew is giving the Jew a gift. That's how this is viewed. Kaven de hisu mitchila. Since there was a stipulation at the beginning, this is not something he has to do. It's in writing, right? This is not something the non-Jew has to do. It's in writing that he doesn't have to do this. If he wants to keep it, he can keep it. Yom HaShabbos shayach lo levado, because the day of Shabbos is only relevant to the non-Jew. V'davka. On the page. V'davka sheritzui shel eno Yehudi sheyeh hachaluka. Let me make this bigger. B'shaveh haya b'stama. All right, when they make this, when they sort of do this, when the non-Jew is kind of appeased to, okay, fine, let's just do it half-half. That it's b'stama. Right? You're not calculating who made more, Saturday, Sunday, you just whatever. Let's just go 50-50 here. If you start making calculations, here's what we made on Saturday, here's what we made on Sunday, here's what we made on Monday. Hey, and now they're splitting up. Meya zuzah. You made 100 zuzim on Shabbos. Va'ana shaklina b'yom hachol And on Sunday, I only made 50 zuzeh. So, hey, Maliliachi, sorry, how will let's do 75, 75? That's not okay. And the okay, fine. That's not okay if he pays him this way. Now, not everybody agrees that that's okay. Some say it's okay because at the end of the day, knew that was the arrangement. But if they start making a cheshbon, it's not clear that it should be okay, because then it's a joke. It's not like, okay, everybody did their work, and then, okay, let's just split it. Okay, we just split it. We'll just go 50-50. Splitsies on this one. Yeah, fine. Okay, because by the way, that could work out sometimes to the favor of one or the other. Sometimes maybe Sunday makes more money than Saturday. And if this is what you always consistently do, or you just do it one time, by the way, so that's okay, because you're just doing it bistama. You're just like, okay, whatever. If whatever extra you get out of this, it's a present. It's a matana. When you start to hem and haw like about the numbers, you made 100, I made 50, let's go 75, 75, then it maybe starts to turn a little bit into a joke instead of just a matana. Now it looks like you really never meant it from the beginning, because you're actually really calculating to the penny what 50-50 looks like. As opposed to, whatever. Obviously, that both situations you walk away with the same amount of money, but here you really seem to be concerned with that you didn't make the same, and that's why you're telling him let's split it, because hey, you're like, hey, I made half of what you made, so let's split it. The reason in the first case is that you didn't calculate it. You don't know who made more. Hein Rav, Hein Ma'at. And I said, okay, let's just make this easy on ourselves. Let's go 50-50. That shows that I didn't really. It's not that I'm undermining our arrangement from the beginning. It's a matana. Whoever gets to benefit from this, split, great, and whatever, doesn't make a difference to us. Okay, let's pause here. We're at the end of Sif Katan Beis. For Sif Katan Gimel, we'll begin that next week, and I think next week we'll do it in person. I just need to make copies for everybody so that we can go back to our old system of how we learn. And is everyone comfortable being indoors, in the social hall? Obviously we're all a group. I think this whole group is vaccinated. I don't think there's anybody who's not. So if everyone's okay and comfortable, we'll go in the social hall, and the Zoom will still be available. Though I don't plan to share the text on Zoom. I will send to those who can't come live. I can send you a PDF of the text, so that way you can follow along. You can print it out and follow along from home, and that way I can see your face, and it's easier. I don't have to start scrolling on the screen and following along in my paper version.
What time is davening going to be? Do you know yet?
That's an excellent question. I hope that there'll be an answer to that question over the next week. I think we're going to go back to an early minyan and to a late minyan. We're just figuring out what time each of those should be. Based on feedback, we're going to reach out to people. Actually, I'm just curious. Actually, Steve, would you plan on coming to shul for minyan if there was an earlier minyan?
Yeah.
Yeah. What time would work for you? What time is it? Taking a poll here. Actually, I should stop the recorder while we're talking about it.